You are viewing the VALVCON V-Series ISO Readback Board Calibration video. This video will include wiring and calibration in both jogging and latching modes. You will need a 1/16 inch hex wrench or driver for this operation. As depicted, the cover of the actuator has already been removed. Begin by connecting AC power to the actuator, hot to terminal 1 and neutral to terminal 2. Next, connect input signals based on one of the following control and running mode combinations. Two-wire operation. When a DC control signal is maintained at terminals B and C, or an AC signal is maintained at terminals G and H, the actuator will drive to the full counterclockwise position. If the control signal is de-energized or removed, the actuator will drive to the full clockwise position. Two-wire mode is only available for jogging applications. Three-wire operation in jogging mode. Applying a continuous DC control signal to terminals B and C or an AC signal to terminals G and H will drive the actuator to the full counterclockwise position. Applying a continuous DC control signal to terminals A and C or an AC signal to terminals F and H will drive the actuator to the full clockwise position. When either signal is de-energized or removed, the actuator will stop and maintain position. Three-wire operation in latching mode. Applying a momentary DC control signal to terminals B and C or an AC signal to terminals G and H will drive the actuator to the full counterclockwise position. When a momentary DC control signal is applied to terminals A and C or an AC signal is applied to terminals F and H, the actuator will drive to the full clockwise position. Readback only. If you are only utilizing the analog position feedback function of the ISO readback board, the actuator may be controlled via terminals 3 and 4 on the motor board. Connect an AC hot signal to terminal 4 for clockwise operation and an AC hot signal to terminal 3 for counterclockwise operation. Next, optionally connect feedback signals. Terminals 5 and 6 on the motor board provide discrete end-of-travel indication. Terminals D and E on the ISO readback board provide analog position feedback. End-of-travel calibration. Begin by selecting manual mode on the front of the ISO readback board. Next, loosen the set screw on the clockwise cam. The capacitor mounting screw may be loosened and the capacitor moved out of the way to gain better access. Using the push buttons or the manual override, drive the actuator to the desired clockwise end-of-travel position. Rotate the cam clockwise to the exact point where the switch trips and tighten the set screw. Next, loosen the set screw on the counterclockwise cam. Drive the actuator to the desired counterclockwise end-of-travel position. Rotate the cam counterclockwise to the exact point where the switch trips and tighten the set screw. If necessary, reposition the capacitor and tighten the mounting screw. If a feedback signal is desired, continue to the next section. Otherwise, set the system into run mode, verify operation, and replace the actuator cover. The ISO readback provides an analog signal for position indication on terminals D and E. This signal is either 4 to 20 milliamps or 0 to 10 volts DC, depending on the switch setting on the front of the ISO readback board. To calibrate the signal, select manual mode using the slide switch on the board. Then, use the onboard clockwise push button to drive to the full clockwise position. Loosen the set screw on the camshaft gear, the larger plastic gear, and adjust the gear until the zero calibration LED turns on, and tighten the set screw. To calibrate the span position feedback signal, drive to the full counterclockwise position using the onboard counterclockwise push button. Adjust the set span potentiometer until you read the desired span signal, such as 20 milliamps or 10 volts DC. If you are using the readback signal in conjunction with a high or low voltage control signal, return the selector switch to the run mode If only using the readback function, leave the switch in the man position. This concludes the ISO readback calibration. Put the system into automatic, verify operation, and replace the actuator cover.